It's easy to judge any group of people on the outside looking in, but if you don't understand the economic, the sociological, the history behind a certain group of people and why they behave the way they do, and you choose to ignore the facts that are presented to you about those group of people and why that is, then you're kind of just admitting your own ignorance. What's up, everybody? What's on the menu? Back at again with another video, and this time we're here to talk about how YouTuber Antonio Talks breaks down bigotry from basic logic. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of this video, don't forget to like the video if you like it, don't if you don't. If you like more social media and pop culture related videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And without further ado, let's get started. Popular commentary creator Antonio Talks, also known by his other channel Antonio Speaks, responded to the video of an individual named Basic Logic for making a video about him called "Another Racist Exposed Me." I'll leave a link to Antonio Talks' response video to Basic Logic in the description down below. But in the video, Antonio Talks goes over talking points that Basic Logic pointed out and ways in which why people believe certain things about black people based on statistics he found online, while also going off his own talking points that he refuted from Antonio Talks in a previous video that he had made about him. Long story short, in Antonio Talks video, he basically goes over how Basic Logic's viewpoints and the statistics he grabbed from his video aren't as accurate as he believes them to be, and also believes that he's only perpetuating negative stereotypes about black people.
He's so blinded by a victimhood mentality that he doesn't realize it. And it's that aggressive, perpetual victim mentality which is causing so much black fatigue worldwide. Let's not beat around the bush. You've seen the clips, you've seen the statistics. The wanton disregard.
First of all, just listening to his accent, he isn't even from America. So he has no interactions with black Americans in real life. Starting off, we've seen the clips, we've seen this. What first-hand experience do you have? So already, off to a horrible start.
My video hasn't even played for 5 seconds. I haven't even made a point, and this guy immediately...
Once again, the fried chicken, I don't know if I already mentioned it, but y'all see what I mean, dude. That is why I got defensive, because you're coming on here being racist.
pauses to complain about my accent.
And I bring that up because of this, bro. The propaganda against black people is so lethal and it sticks. We just had an incident a few days ago, or a week ago now, where Japanese people on Twitter were just talking about how scared they are of us. How they think that we're, you know, this violent group of people. The whole time, we didn't do shit to nobody. We never bombed anyone. We never did any colonization. We never killed off hundreds of thousands of animals just so a group of people couldn't eat. So it's like, just looking back through history, what have black people done to warrant how everyone feels about us? This is because propaganda is so real. People that have never interacted with black Americans specifically have so much to say. This is a guy, I don't know where he's from in Europe. A lot of people say Portugal. He's getting all of his knowledge because of hood movies, hood interviews on YouTube, viral black fatigue clips, right? So he's never had a first-hand encounter. And this actually stands for majority of white America, right? Most black people in America, we live down south, okay? So it's like America is kind of still segregated. Even in different parts of my state of South Carolina, right? You notice how small we are. So majority of people, they don't have an interaction with us. So they're getting all their information because of black fatigue clips. Like, and these videos go crazy viral. Millions of views. This is how they're forming their ideology off of us. So as a person from Europe, who are you to make a video on black America? And like I stated, just seeing the racist themes through your video, bro, I already knew it wasn't in good faith.
Antonio Talk's response video basically goes over how Basic Logic doesn't really thoroughly dive into what factors cause black people to be in the positions they're in. Ways in which he debunks the claims made by Basic Logic is he goes over the statistics he used in the places in which he got the statistics. He goes over factual evidence and informational videos that actually describe the phenomenons that disprove whatever Basic Logic is talking about. In addition to that, he also points out fallacies in the way in which Basic Logic provides his argument as to why he believes the stereotypes around black people exist the way they do today.
Also, another thing, bro, if y'all have black fatigue so much, why do you keep worrying about black America? That, like, if y'all are so fatigued, then go away. I see y'all under every video of black people. I mean, we literally, y'all so fatigued but keep following us, making videos about us. That is what I'm saying. Like, y'all are obsessed.
All the way to the end. Academics love to blame racism for any disparity between groups. It's their default excuse.
Listen to me, sir. America is rooted in racism. It got rich off of it. Slavery. Not even talking about that. Normal, everyday things are rooted in racism.
This is why I say you're not even American, so you couldn't even grasp this. Just me walking outside, I may walk upon different street names under the title of former slave owners, former Confederates,
white supremacists. We're going to schools named after these people. So it's already brainwashing on like a psychological level. Even bringing up things such as HOAs that are in some suburban neighborhoods. These were founded off of racism.
The reason there are suburbs, racism, redlining, even when you're going out to eat.
Things such as tipping, it was founded on racism.
Antonio plays my video for another 5 seconds. Keep in mind, I still haven't made a single point yet, and goes on a tirade of how everything is racist. Even suburbs, even tipping is racist.
Yes.
For both of our sanities, let's skip when he actually makes a point.
Literally, he said that black people love to use racism as an excuse. I literally just told him why. Because so many things are rooted in racism. Common things such as tipping. That's something that you wouldn't even think relates to racism, but it's so much more. You know what I'm saying? So much more. I'm not even going to talk about all the examples because people will call. You can go on and on with examples and people will be like, "Oh, you're just being a victim." No, we're just bringing up facts.
One of the main issues I agree with for Antonio talks about the way this individual talks about black people and quote unquote black fatigue is the fact that he's someone who doesn't live in America but is expressing his viewpoints and opinions about a group of people he's never interacted with on a daily basis. The problem with Basic Logic making a whole video on a culture of people he's never interacted with and only has gotten spoon-fed information online while also cherry-picking data that isn't accurate to the situation is that he has no first-hand experience off of any of the stuff he's talking about, which makes everything he's going to talk about completely biased and unrelated to stuff he's actually experienced in real life or could refute with other forms of data. Online and in person, there's an unwavering amount of people who feel brave and bold to talk about black people a certain way and don't face as many consequences. There have been several content creators who have gotten a come up from talking negatively about black people, stereotyping black people, or just using them as a prop to propel themselves into stardom or fame. The fact that someone who's never even touched America or even lived in America for any point of their life and can make a living off of talking negatively about a group of people is actually quite disturbing. The equivalent of that would be like someone like myself who's lived in America their whole life and only has ever seen life in America would talk about the ongoings of Turkey and talk about how people in Turkey were a subculture who didn't deserve to be alive or something like that. I'm not saying that's the case by any means, but it's just weird that someone who's never been to Turkey would talk so negatively about a country and its people who they've never interacted with enough to even have a solid opinion on it. Not only that, when someone who lives in the country you're talking about is debunking your claims with factual evidence and explaining to you why systems exist and why they are the way they are, and you actively choose to ignore that information to say that the information doesn't make sense to you because of X, Y, or Z, it kind of just shows that your ignorance is on par with the people who with the people you're kind of catering to with this sort of negative rhetoric towards a certain group of people. It's easy to judge any group of people on the outside looking in, but if you don't understand the economic, the sociological, the history behind a certain group of people and why they behave the way they do, and you choose to ignore the facts that are presented to you about those group of people and why that is, then you're kind of just admitting your own ignorance. And to add to that point, putting so much energy into a group of people who don't really interact with you on that much of a frequent basis and you actively don't even interact with them at all is kind of weird to put that much attention and time into, especially when you choose to make racist caricatures out of certain things that are considered stereotypes for them to do. Like me, for example, all the pop culture topics I've been talking about so far have been from instances that are happening in America and American pop culture because I'm an American individual who lives in America, knows how American society should operate, and I'm calling it out because there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on. For me to then talk about problems happening in the UK for whatever reason, but I've never lived there and I don't know how the culture operates to any degree, and I'm able to speak loudly with my chest that things in the UK work this way or they're messed up because of that, and I don't even know half of what I'm talking about, is just me being an ignorant person who chooses not to learn, adapt and grow, admit my faults, or anything of the sort. If the content creators you follow are people who choose not to learn from their mistakes, constantly mess up, don't want to admit when they're wrong, and just spew incorrect facts towards you, and you choose not to fact check them or call them out when they're being wrong, then I don't think those are people you should either be following, or you need to look at yourself and say, these are the people that I like, why is that the case? And if you're fine with that, hey, that's your prerogative, man or woman. All in all, I think Antonio Talks did a great job of breaking down why Mr. Basic Logic didn't really understand the fact that there are systems in place that were used to push black people behind in American society, and from someone who lives on a different part of the world who isn't really absorbing that information and kind of just sees it as someone attacking their viewpoints that are not inherently 100% correct, if at all. It's kind of weird because it doesn't make sense for anybody who's not from a certain culture or part of the world to talk about that group of people, have the information be blatantly wrong, say it loud and proud with your chest on the internet, and then when you're called out for that information, you choose not to course correct or at least point out when you've made a mistake, because the internet's getting a lot scarier by the day, and a lot of people are just letting anyone do anything without any checks or balances, and people can just be blatantly racist and have a come up off of that stuff, and it's really not good. It's sending a terrible message to children nowadays who watch social media influencers, get a lot of money. I've talked about this in the past on previous videos, like with people like Clavicular and Sneeko and people like that, and looking at things not from everyone is just this group of people, but looking at things objectively and trying not to be people who look down on others for X, Y, or Z, that, things that are at least not within their control. because making fun of a group of people because of their skin color or where they ended up in life is not really something they could have controlled. That's completely up to factors that were not determined by them before they were even born. So yeah, those are just editor menu here. Actually had a thought about a great analogy / movie scene that kind of relates to this whole thought of black people always calling out the bigotry that happens to them and not wanting to perpetuate injustice and stop stuff like this from happening, and not really playing the victim, but kind of just explaining the circumstances that exist about them right now. Has anyone ever seen X-Men The Last Stand? In the movie, Magneto leads a resistance to help stop the spread / distribution of this mutant-deleting gene drug that people were willingly taking, because being a mutant is considered an other, and mutants are a minority in the Marvel Cinematic Universe where X-Men reside and are constantly being discriminated against for their abilities and or their appearance. To make the story of X-Men and mutants analogous to real life, mutants in a sense are analogous to what Jews were during the Holocaust in Europe in the 1930s and 40s. Magneto was actually put in a concentration camp as a young boy. As a result, he was put into a place based off of what he believed or a certain group of people he belonged to felt it was wrong, and on top of that, he was also branded with a number to make his otherness more visible. In the movie, Magneto is asked by one of the mutants in his resistance if he has a mark, kind of showing his dedication to the mutant cause. Like, Magneto shows that he does, but not for the reasons that the mutant believes.
Talk pretty tough for a guy in a cape.
Back off.
You're so proud of being a mutant. Where's your mark?
I have been marked once, my dear, and let me assure you, no needle shall ever touch my skin again.
It shows that him being considered other as a Jewish person is analogous to him being other as a mutant, and those are two fights he doesn't want to persist, because he knows that bigotry in any form is not good. The reason I point to this example, because there's many instances where people feel sympathy for what Jewish people endured during the Holocaust in the 1930s and 40s and say it was such a tragedy that a group of people was marginalized and isolated and literally genocided on a large scale. But when people refer to black people in such a way and how they've been discriminated against and how they've been attacked and seen as victims or people who deserve whatever comes to them, it's without the insider knowledge about what was done to black people in the past and why they constantly point out these hypocrisies and wrongdoings in society towards them. And when people aren't sympathetic or at least understand what happened to them and why things are the way they are for them, they kind of just turn a blind eye and say, oh, this is just the way they are. Let me know what you guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you think Antonio Talks was right to call up Mr. Basic Logic on his misinformed views on black people in America, or do you think Basic Logic had any grounds to stand on what he said and he didn't really say anything wrong about black Americans? Let me know what your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Deuces.